Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Kinky Wellness Podcast. For today's episode, we are welcoming back our old friend, amazing relationship and intimacy coach, Shelby Avann. Shelby has been on the show not once, not twice, but 3 times before in episode 171, Mono Minds, Poly Hearts, exploring the spectrum of relationships, in episode 163, Intro to Reiki and Energy Healing, as well as in episode 147, Attachment Styles. However, in this candid and laid back conversation, Shelby shares powerful insights from her work with women's circles, where she helps women reclaim their anger as a source of empowerment and healing. And together, we explore how to safely embrace primal emotions in intimate spaces and how to channel them for personal growth, as well as a few favorite practices for releasing anger and aggression for ourselves. So kick back, relax, and let's welcome back Shelby to the show. Hey, welcome back to the show, Shelby. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I've been looking forward to this podcast because we are talking about aggression today.
Yeah, I I like having the conversation about it. It's still one of those things for me where I like it. I definitely have it. But I get scared about like putting it out there and like building that relationship and trying to like find a healthy way of dealing with anger and aggression is I think it's just such an important topic to go about, but it's a hard one.
Because you do women's circles for that. So what would you see in your kind of sessions?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I've done two women's circles, which were based around anger. So the first one was an anger one. And then I kind of wanted to go into like the realm of bringing in like a primal kink aspect into the way that I was doing the circle. Mine was more like energetic based in way of being able to use the power dynamic to work with a more primal feeling. So something that felt, I guess, more aggressive, more primal, more intimidating. And how would we go about doing that? And how do you do that with your physical body, your physical motions? And then also, if you didn't want to use your physical imposingness on someone, how can you do it psychologically or just with your energy or how you worked the room? So oh my God, this was probably like my most fun women's circle that I've done, to be honest. Yes, I love this. So I guess just as background, usually in my women's circles, I like lead more and I love what I'm leading my women in, but I don't necessarily like always take part in what I'm doing as well. I kind of just let the participants do what it is they're doing. But this one I had a smaller group. So when I was directing the girls to like work with one another and just kind of give this like these different primal energies to each other, and someone being the more dominant one, someone being the more submissive one. As I was watching them, there were other things that I was like, I want to try this in a different way, and I want to see how they react, and just go from there. So I know on the first one was pretty simple. It was just like pushing someone up against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we were doing, and so I got one of the girls to do that to do that to the other, and the submissive one was really acting out and like struggling as well. So she was like pushing back against the wall. She was pushing against like the dominant. And it was just a lot more of like this physical dynamic that was happening. And as I was watching her, I was like, we can use our strong, powerful, dominant energy to direct our sub to stay fucking still and to not do that. And you're not allowed to struggle. And so when I asked her if I could switch and if I could take place after they were done, she said that was fine. So I put my hand on her chest, but I didn't put a lot of pressure on her. And then I noticed that she was like pushing against the wall with her hands and she was getting up on her toes and using her toes to like push away and against the other dominant. And so I was like, your feet need to stay flat on the floor and your hands have to stay on your thighs. And you're not allowed to struggle against me the same way. Like this is what you have to do to start off with. So I didn't want to give her an option of like using that against me. And so just imposing that like force on her in a different way, just using my words. And then I know she wasn't looking at me either. And so I forced her to look at me and like you have to look me in the eye the entire time. Like you're not allowed to look away from me. And then I just like raised her chin up a little bit. And then I saw her eyes like go like she was scared. I don't know, like it went subby or it went scared. I don't know what happened there, but there was vulnerability. And I was like, I fucking got you. I this is awesome. And I just love being able to use the primality of that on someone. And it's like it's just this different type of thing that happens.
Well, what I love most about that, one of the things that I take away from this is that it is a great example of funneling our aggression into assertiveness, which is something that you just need in your
Mm-hmm.
day-to-day life. And I think that being assertive has been something that we've been discouraged from doing. And so also when you're not being assertive, you're not also building that relationship with your aggression as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. I didn't think that I recognized that that was the connection with it. That like that primal nature is that I want to say like this like masculine, yes, I can take control energy that everyone's allowed to have. Like we have both masculine and feminine energies. Actually, I guess both healthy masculine and feminine both have that, though they are like they're knowing, they're in control, their assertiveness is both there for them.
Well, I think it comes down to if you don't have a certain level of aggression, like you do welcome that, like people can steamroll you, like they can just,
Mhm.
take control of you, like you're not able to voice your opinions and your boundaries. And I think that's what it is too, because if you aren't using your aggression in the proper time to assert your boundaries in the moment, that's when all those aggressions start to build up and they pop off on like some random event when it's not supposed to. And that's when we see that really unhealthy explosion or outburst of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's the part that's scary.
Yeah, well, like of course it's like a tipping time bomb because aggression is really like it's quite destructive when it's not used and funneled properly. And it
Mhm.
doesn't mean to. It's just one of those acts of protection and it doesn't really care what the consequences are because it's just trying to protect itself in the way that it knows how. I also find that there's a pretty heavy stigma on aggression of why we can't talk about it and it seems to be like there's only certain avenues that you can do it and that it's always wrong. Like again, it's
Mhm.
one of those negative emotions of which we have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's not, it's just that we don't really know how to deal with it yet. But I'm just thinking of some of the reactions that I've had with like if I start to get amped up at all, again, that a lot of people really want to downplay it sooner rather than later versus allowing or validating.
I feel like when we have this thing where like when we see other people mad, where it's the most really hardest, like it's really hard to give space for when we need aggression to come out because it needs so much space and it can take
Yeah.
up a lot of like I guess room energetically, which can be quite intimidating when you're seeing that unfold with somebody in front of you.
Yeah. I don't know if this is always the best response that I've started to have now, but depending on who it is, I start laughing with like what's going on, 'cause not at them, but more of a like you fucking go get it. Like just keep coming at me with it. Like tell me more about what's bothering you. Like just go. And I don't think anyone's been offended by my laughing at them in this case. So I know like there's different types of way of like if someone laughed at me, they're like, your anger is funny. And like because I don't know how to handle it, that just pisses me off. But I hope that mine is kind of like just okay, bring it on, bring more. I love it. Tell me more about like what's pissing you off. Just keep going.
I feel like with my anger, like when it comes to aggression tendencies, I definitely am sitting with it a lot better than I was several years ago. Like I had literally no control over aggression for a good number of years.
Mhm.
And looking back, it's just, man, I wish we had one conversation about aggression. Like even in health class, if we want to put it in some sort of schooling, because I can tell you that it's almost imaginary. And the only time we see it is when it's like I always would put it to UFC and like football. Like it's okay if we see it
Mhm.
in that sense, but really no other type.
Yeah, you're right. That's the only places that you'll see aggression or on like the TV shows and whatnot. And then it's kind of brought up there, but it's not necessarily ever shown in ways where people are handling it well.
Yeah, I think it's physically done that because we think that it's like there's different types. We have the physical, we have verbal, but then we have things that are actually like really good. So instrumental aggression, that's when you can actually harness it for goal-oriented outcomes. So
Hmm.
if you're kind of nervous about starting a new school or going to a new job and you can harness that aggression side in a healthy way to be like, no, I'm just going to get it done. Like people who do workout or finish a big task can use this as well. And another thing about aggression too is like I did go on a podcast to talk about it and there was like that acute aggression. So it's like really intense and overloaded. And I had compared it to when people see babies and they come up and they're like, "Oh my God, you're so
Oh,
cute. I just want to eat you." Like that
yeah.
is that type of aggression. And so even in a sexual and non-sexual context, like we have it all around us, like just hovering right there in the open.
Yeah. Oh, I have a cute aggression thing. I have a thing that I actually did today because I had a pretty bad day yesterday with my other work. And so my partner today, I kind of started antagonizing him a little bit. Like I was trying to like wrestle him and bother him and like get a rise out of him. But it would have been like play fighting. Like that's kind of where I was going with it, which sadly he wasn't super like he was kind of game for, but not super game for. But I was like, oh, this would be like to me, this would be an okay physical way of getting out some of like my energy that I have towards this.
Oh, yeah. Play fighting is the ultimate. Like to me, personally, of course, I'm going to say this, play fighting is the ultimate way to get that out.
Mhm.
But of course, for the stronger person, the only thing I would say is you have to make sure that you're aware that you're the stronger person because you have to get into that state of flow, like the giving and the receiving, the dancing of strength that kind of goes between two people. Because
Mhm.
unless the goal is to overtake at the end of the day, it's still a good idea to get some of that energy out before the ending comes.
Yeah. I guess continuing with the topic, impact play would be great. So if you have that conversation with your partner, that's something that you already know, like you guys are interested in, or if that's something you want to approach, then being like, I'm having a bad day. And whether you're like the dom on the dom or sub side of it, like, are you the one that wants to inflict the impact, or do you need to feel the pain to get it out of you? So like which side of it do you need to be on? And can you actively plan for like, this is one of my harder days. I'd like this to be my outlet today.
Yeah. And I think also like registering, like still having a mindset when you go in there, like you are going to get out energy, but don't come into it already like emotionally triggered, I guess you can say. Like if you're already
Yeah.
flooded, and that's the only thing too that I think maybe there's a lot of influences that don't show that warm up. Like if we were to
Yeah.
relate this back to pornography, they just jump right into it at the very far extreme. But of course, like, when that's not realistic, that's actually not literally ever how it's done.
Mhm.
But I don't blame people for thinking like, oh, that's how it is when that's all that we've been taught. Like even myself, it took me a bit of a learning lesson to like really start to understand the importance of your warm up because I would be that person that would be like, oh, I have so much pent up energy. I just want to jump into it. Like let's just go like right now. And so
Yeah.
it's, you only have to learn that the wrong way once to know your lesson. And then you're like, okay, I'm good. I know how to do the warm up. Thank you. So,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think there's like it depends, I think, on how mad you are too. Because I know, again, I'll just use my example from yesterday. Like I was upset about a lot of things, but it was kind of like this more overwhelmed frustration that I was having. So I knew that I needed more like of a grounding comforting response first, but there was still this like pissed offness that was there too. So I kind of got that the night before. And then the next day was kind of when I was like wanting to get some of that pissed offness out. It would have been a delay in the time frame. Because I think, with the saying like you don't want to still be emotionally charged, like I was still upset about some stuff, but the full heat of it wasn't there anymore.
mm. Well, even with that, with the firmness that you're saying about grounding, like a firm grip through impact play and rough housing, that's a good way. It's almost like when you're being grounded, the electricity is getting like sucked out of you in a way. So that's quite beneficial to you as well.
Mhm. Well, I think you have to be careful though. This is something else that I've noticed recently for people that are a little more energetic though, because depending on the situation too, I know I'm not always able to be grounded by a firm touch. Like sometimes that can flow, like make a continual flow through me instead of grounding it out. So yes, and if that works for you, but if it doesn't work for you, then you have to find something else.
That's actually a very valid point. So, for instance, since that happens to you, what are some ways that you're able to kind of
Oh man.
get it out instead of an endless cycle?
I've had to be a lot more intentional with where it goes. So when I'm with my partner, I have to try to disconnect from him. So even if he's still touching me or like laying on top of me or something, because usually like those things can help ground me sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't. Um, I have to actually like visualize the energy going out of me instead of it circling through. So it just needs to look a different way. So it's like going out of my feet or my head or like the back of my body or through my hands or like somewhere. It just needs to go somewhere else. Or the other night I was doing therapy and I just I've never had this visual, but it was like I just had a visual that popped in of like a really huge, like cartoon style big rock on flattening me, basically. And that was grounding me. It didn't feel like it was like killing me or anything like that or taking the air out of my body. It was just I just needed this huge visual of a really big rock laying on top of me to be like ground here.
I think, yeah, I definitely resonate with something like that. I like pressure. The more outside pressure I have, the easier it is to deal with the inside pressure for me. So the tighter someone's squeezing on the outside, I feel like I actually feel that visualization, or at least like the harder I'm being squeezed, the more that the energy is just getting out of me. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not, I think that's one of the biggest things that I take away from that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So out of curiosity, then for you, just like does rope work for you?
Yeah. So, but I actually like wider, thicker ones. So bands. If I have thicker ropes, then that works as well. But I like the flat harnesses. So, and
Okay.
I am, and obviously when it comes to rope as well, I'm a big fan of being in the same position for a really long time. But
Mm-hmm.
I also want to say something about that because I was thinking about it and we always talk about, oh, you're in this position, this and that. But I feel like sometimes we forget that you have to unwind after you come out of that position. And so you have to do your counter moves. So if you're in, if you're curled forward, then you should be doing a back bend to kind of like level out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never even thought about that because I like to rig, but I haven't put anyone in any like wild positions. That's not really, I'm more like an aesthetic versus a here put you in something
Mm.
position that's like really bendy and weird. But that's definitely something that yes, people 100% should consider. I guess I would feel like naturally that's something I would do if I was in one position. I'd naturally want to go into another one, but depending on whether or not you're in subspace or not, you're not going to like be able to conceptualize that.
Yeah, like while still on this point, like I think one of the reasons was is because sometimes when I get energetically kind of screwed up on the inside, or like just a lot of stuff is coming and I'm having a trouble to balance it, I genuinely feel like the inside of me is contortioned up like this, and I do need to stretch it back out in a way that I feel balanced again because I will feel it. Like even if my hand's like this flat, I'll
Yeah.
feel it all scrunched up together. And I'm like, no, I got to get it out. I just got to shake it out. And so getting bent into positions and holding it there for a little while, actually, it really, really calms me down.
Okay. Okay. I like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah. So back to aggression in that sense is
Mhm.
I think one of the things that I really wish people would know about it is I know it's scary, but it's one of those classic fear of the unknowns. Fear of the unknowns, because the more that you get to know it, it's actually not that scary. And you realize that it really is one of those driving forces to a happy, healthy life because you do need to stay assertive. You do need to be aggressive in this world. It's so fast. And sometimes you even have to be aggressive to get like your life together in your way. Because often we fall into traps where it's leading by other people. And that kind of happens when you're not strong enough to stand up to the tide to be like, no, I want something else. I want to change something else. And it can be small. Like it's not like you have to pick a fight or something, but even just saying, you know what, I would rather watch this movie, not this movie, and just small instances like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the boundary thing, like being able to have those conversations about your needs and your boundaries and, holding true to them, basically.
Hmm. So, what other primal key points do you have in general about aggression?
So the second thing that we did with our other girl was I wanted this other option to be more like the one was meant to be more physical, and then the second thing that we were going to do was meant to be more energetic. I didn't realize that both of my style is more energetic and psychological in general. So my examples that I was doing are more so that overall. But for the second one, it was I wanted her to more so like feel the energy of that primal nature coming at her without as much touching happening. So can you get in her bubble without actually touching her? Can you say something with words that will be intimidating? Like just use your other whatever other senses you have to be able to like make a certain primal response be elicited from this experience. So what I ended up doing was I she wanted this when we switched people, she wanted to stay up against the wall where we had started with like our other girl. And I asked, I was like, I'd actually like you to kind of be out in like in the middle of the room here. I don't want you to be up against anything. I just want you to be in the center of our room. She's like, okay, we can do that. So I went there, I got her to close her eyes, and then I immediately walked away from her. And I started talking to her. So again, the theme of that circle was about anger. And earlier we had done some sharing about like what are some of the things that scare you? What scares you about anger? What are the things that you think of if you express it? Like what are these basically these core wounds that are coming about as you deal with anger? Like what are these like I'm a bad person. I'm like it's not okay to be angry. It's what like whatever the different things were. So I started talking to her and I started kind of like antagonizing her. And she told me that like she doesn't like being told what to do. So I started telling her what to do just to start getting the like that anger thing. And she not right away, she didn't resist right away, but I walked away from her, started talking to her, stayed far away. So she thought I was further away and then quietly got closer to her so that my goal was that she wouldn't realize how close I was. So she'd be able to feel me intimidating her in like in her space because she'd all of a sudden feel my presence there. And then I started speaking to her about her core wounds and like validating that all her core wounds were true. So this was me trying to kind of like break her and be like, yep, you know, like you suck. Anger is awful and you're a bad person for expressing anger and it's very hurtful and all these things. So it's kind of like mean version coming out. And then I got her she resisted this, but I was like, I want you to get down on your knees. And she said she would resist, again, being told what to do. So she did. And I just waited her out. I don't know how to deal with brats, to be honest. So I'm kind of like, I'm going to ask you what to do. And I'm just going
Yeah.
to stay quiet and you're going to do it or you're not. And then I waited a little while. She didn't do it right away. And then I just put my hands on her and I started pressing down a little bit. And then she went down eventually. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to ask again. So we're just going to wait this out and you're going to do it eventually. And then, yeah, I just kind of like kept building up those core wounding things. And then I switched and I just like embraced her from behind. So I pressed my whole body against her, wrapped my arms around her and just held her really tight. And then I switched the dialogue and then said, everything that I was saying is completely untrue. And here is the actual truth. And then went to like the healing side of it instead and being held and having like a different experience from it that way. So that's kind of like the other way that I've done primal things, like throwing my voice, sounding further away, intimidating, coming closer, using body presence and energy and tone of voice.
That's quite interesting because even with the switch of all of those ways of like how you're doing your anger and aggression are in negative ways to be like, and then to switch at the end, I do think that a lot of people really need to hear that in it, even if it hurts, because we don't talk about aggression. A lot of people are throwing their aggression around in the wrong spots, in the wrong times. And I
Mhm.
do think it's okay to be like, no, that's not okay. Because then it's like the first step to kind of fixing it. But I'm wondering, I guess, how people's first reactions of that is.
She really enjoyed the session of it. I was worried because I didn't realize until I had an experience being mean that I liked being mean in the right context, like with the people that I feel can handle it or like it or okay with it. But I really do quite like being able to do that, but I need a lot of support afterwards. But yeah, so she did end up enjoying it. She cried at the one point. I don't remember when it was. I think like it was a good cry, not like a it wasn't bad. But yeah, overall she did like it. And my other girl was over. She was up in the corner. She was seeing like colors, watching our exchange. She was very energetic. I didn't realize that, but I yeah, she was seeing colors, which was cool.
That's actually so cool. So, if somebody wanted to go to one of your women's circles, what's the flow of the evening when they first come there and then you get into workshops and then do you have a debrief circle at the end or how does this go?
Yeah, okay. So that was the first time that I did it, that I did my circle like that, but I fucking loved that. That's
Yeah.
like something I want to do again. And this is what I was kind of like telling you earlier. I wanted to do some more, it's inspired me to want to do some like one-on-one sessions like this. So coaching sessions where I can kind of like and it's depending, like break you down and then do like the healing side of things. But what the general schedule looks like of my circles is we will open the circle, we'll set in like kind of say, what is it that brought you here today for this circle? So like the anger circle, or I've had like a grief circle, sexuality and power and control. So what is it that you were interested in coming to this one for? Like why? What's the struggle? Whatever it is. So we'd share that at first, and then we'll usually do like a meditation, share whatever we got through that. And then I have some prompts that I'll do with them, and it's a lot of like sharing and just being able to listen and support and hear one another. And then depending on what else it is I want to do, we'll either do a um like some sort of something physical. So in the other ones I was kind of doing like a little like dance session where we could move in a way where we could express our sexuality, or move in ways where we were more like angsty. It was like that, or angry music coming out, like rocking and thrashing around or something, or like, sad music that we could just cry and move slowly to and grieve and whatever. So there would be some sort of movement aspect to it. And then in this more recent one I did, there was the actual kink side of it where we were using our bodies and our whatever against each other, with each other, to show that different power primal dynamics. And then I usually like to finish with something like an eye gazing connection type of exercise so that people can feel like that intimacy and connection again at the end.
Damn, you got like a pretty heavy loaded eye gazing at the end of aggression. I actually love that because a lot of people are also intimidated by eye gazing. So this is really one of those workshops. You're gonna face it. You're
Yeah.
gonna face it all. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. I know I can sense what usually makes people uncomfortable. I'm like, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
We're going to do that now.
Well, to your point about thrashing, like I think that that's an underrated movement is that
Yeah.
jerkiness, almost mosh pit type style of movement.
Yeah. Like whipping
And
your hair around.
yeah, and even if you're not into rock music, like just that literally is the best. Like there are all those stats that are coming out about dancing being one of the best forms of an antidepressant. Like that is no joke.
Mm.
And I swear I made this joke previously, but I swear I live in the footloose town, like, where you can't dance or something because
Oh,
there's no places to dance in my hometown unless you're like a college and university. But other than that, nothing. Like it's no, we need to bring some dancing back here and get this out because if I had to describe my hometown in one word, I would say aggressive. Like people are aggressive at the stoplight. You can see them gripping their steering wheel and they're aggressive getting their change out and they're just like impatient. And this energy of like aggression is just like there.
yeah. And I mean, I feel like something else to say about dance too is it doesn't have to look like any certain way either. So again, I'm most of the time I'm doing like pole dancing, and
Mm.
it's just a really great creative, very physical outlet that works well for me. But if other types of dancing work well for you, then do that. Like go and do hip hop, go and do like the silent disco type things or the EDM things, or go and do a contemporary class. Like it doesn't really matter. The dance can look however you want it to look. It's as long as your body's moving and getting whatever it needs to get out in the way that it wants to express it.
Well, that's how I feel about ecstatic dance. How you described it is basically that. So one of my first ecstatic dance parties, I was like, where has this been my whole life? Because it really was just you're shaking it out, you're moving in ways that are new for your body. And I think that that's something to really push that you got to move in almost origami type way, like twist and turn, like just get into it, even if it looks, because you're going to feel it if you stretch out your hand as if someone's pulling it you're going to feel that release all the way through to your other side of your body. And it's
Yeah.
just, I think with aggression too, or any type of feelings for this matter, if we don't move in certain ways, then we're unable to tap into those emotions that are locked in specific areas like our hips.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true because we do have to figure out how to learn to like our body learns to stick in certain ways to that it stays comfortable in or that prevent pain or whatever. So yeah, to be able to find those other like little spots that aren't we're not able to move and might have that stuck and stagnant energy and emotions in there. It's definitely good to get that out in whatever way you can.
Yeah, like there's no such thing as I am a bad dancer. You're only a bad dancer if you don't dance. That's really how it comes down to.
Yeah. I do get it. At the same time though, I understand the like I'm worried about being seen in my movement and stuff because like that's kind of
Well,
scary. It can be
I think
scary.
I think fear of being seen in general is also another topic that, oh my gosh, you could uncover that. Man, people just they dim themselves down. No one wants to put their head above the crowd, like, and we all kind of want to stay, and I get it because we want that sense of belonging and not to stick out too much. But there's this one quote that always sticks with me, that your greatest fear is basically your untapped power. Like we're afraid of the powers of which we can do. And aggression can be that. So we're scared of going into aggression because we're scared it's going to take over. And you know what? To be fair, sometimes it might. You start playing with it the first time, sometimes your aggression might take over and you might become overwhelmed and flooded, but that's part of the process of getting that relationship back. So, in my opinion, it's one of those stepping stones you got to go over.
Yeah. But yeah, and I'm thinking of some of that flooding feeling you're talking about. And I think there is this exactly what you're saying, this aspect of getting your power back. But yeah, once you feel it, it's something that you don't really want to let go of again. I'm just thinking of some other things when I've thought of how I've been flooded with different types of emotions or just like, no getting upset about something, usually there's like a very valid reason for it. It's like, you're not being treated properly, a boundary's been crossed, something isn't right. Like that's the reason that you're feeling upset. And then you get more upset because it's not getting validated or people are like, what do you mean? What's wrong? Calm the fuck down. You're like, something's fucking wrong. I'm not going to calm down. Like, don't
Mm.
tell me to calm down when something's wrong. Something needs to change. Right. So it's like it's very valid and empowering to stay in that energy and stand in that energy, be like, no, you're going to hear me and you're going to respect me. Like that's basically what it's about. It's like it's a call to be heard.
Yeah. The problem I feel like what it comes down to is when you get two people that are triggered and like the one person expressing it and then the other person feels like an attack, but also I feel bad because sometimes, well, most of the time we take things personally, right? Somebody gets upset and you're like, oh, I must have done something. But we're in reality, maybe they are triggered from something that happened like that doesn't even has nothing to do with you, but we're not in that state at that moment. And that's when
Mhm.
things can get bad. So knowing when the aggression's starting and to pull out, whether it's to leave, walk away, get some space, get air, not crossing that line of which you can't come back from, because when you don't have your aggression in check and it starts to go on that, oh, I can't bring it back mode,
Mhm.
it's just training us to like not even get to that point. Like I also believe that it is a learned behavior. So if you were raised with aggressive people all the time, like that's how you're going to be. But so is peace. If you were raised in a peaceful home and instead of someone getting aggressive or mad because something broke or spilled, and you have someone who just says, oh, it's okay,
Mhm.
it's fine. But that's not really the case. So it's just starting over and relearning like this is one of your capacities. You really need to know where your level of capacity goes for this behavior and this feelings and all of this.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think like the biggest thing about it is to manage it in the first place is to not just like not let it get so big because
Mm,
that really is where the problem is. And the way to not let it get so big is again to start to really be able to understand what it is that you need, what your boundaries are, and then speaking up for them and being more consistent with that. Because if you're not doing those things, then of course you're going to get mad. Of course you
mm.
are. It's going to happen at some point in time, right? Because you're just feeling disrespected all the time. You're not getting what it is that you actually need. And you just need to actually bring that forward. And that'll really help with the aggression because like, you can learn all the techniques that you want, but if you're not speaking up for yourself, that like that's going to continue to happen.
Yeah. Assertiveness is not a dirty word, ladies and gentlemen. It is very much needed. But this was a great conversation, Shelby. Where can my listeners find you?
They can find me at my on my website, which is Shelby Avann with two N's, .ca. Oh God, I just looked at it the other day. I think it's CA. It's .ca or .com. My picture's on there. You'll find me. And then I've got my Instagram. So I've got two accounts now. I've got my coaching one is the Intimacy Angel. So you can go there. I have my other one, which is my pole account, which is Intimacy Mistress. So either one, you'll find stuff. And then as for, well, the offering I want to put into existence is my actual one-on-one coaching. It'd be like a wellness domination coaching session. So doing basically what I was explaining I was doing in my anger circle with the ladies of like doming them into a healing session with whatever it is that we need to work on. So maybe it's with emotions, maybe it's with anger, maybe it's grief, maybe it's, body positivity and me forcing you to look at the mirror at yourself in your bra and undies because you're not okay with your body. If that's something that sounds like what you need in a sense of like, I need someone to force me, or I need like that dominant, I need to be in a submissive state to be able to heal, and doing this in a coaching setting in this way sounds like really fun. I would love to do that. I do only work with women. So that's just so you guys know. But yeah, that would be the thing, like the newest thing that I'm doing. I'm still doing my online coaching as well and my Reiki healing too. So those are other options that I've got if those are things you're interested in. And my circles, I'm probably not going to do them again till the summer.
Well, thank you so much for all the information. I'll put all your links in the description. And for my listeners, you guys know what to do. I'll see you on Wednesday. As always, stay kinky.